Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 4 of What If Naruto Was a Legendary Neglected Uzumaki. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Personally Trained by Kurama on this channel and enjoy that guys. And over on Anime King 3, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy guys. And also over on Anime King 2, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Had the Rarest Bloodline. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy guys. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last part that we left off, as Minato had came, as Naruto was surprised to see his father here, as his father told him that they will be having a important meeting tomorrow with the Hyuga, and he was expected to be there. As Naruto simply nodded and left, as Minato looked defeated as he watched his son left, he asked Izumi how he was doing. Her comment made Minato feel even worse, as he knew that recently he hadn't been there for his son a lot. He wanted to change that though, as he hoped that he's not too late. The next morning, as Izumi was helping Naruto get dressed for the upcoming meeting, when Naruto came out, he saw both his mother and father there, as they were waiting for him. As he saw his father and mother smiling at him, their smile looked a bit awkward and nervous, but he played along with it though, as they made their way and spoke to the Hyugas, as Naruto commented to a rather disrespectful as he spoke. He didn't really mean it in a disrespectful way, but the way he just phrased his comments, the Hyuga Hayashi decided to just keep his thoughts to himself, as it was something that was concerned the Hyuga and the Uzumaki some help that they needed, but Naruto blocked out everything. Kushina called his name as she realized that he was listening, as the meeting was already over, as she asked if they could spend tonight together and have dinner. As Naruto nodded, well, as long as they make it on time, as the both of them knew that this would be their last chance. So they ensured that they came. Naruto had went as he went to find Itachi, as the both of them had walked home even though Naruto did not attend school. As this strange kind of bond formed between them. So with that out of the way, Naruto made his way back home, as his mother was there and his father as well. As they spoke to him, it was a bit awkward first. They were trying to make things go back normal as it was in the past, but it didn't seem like it could. As Naruto went upstairs, as he got his sister Karen, as he brought her back downstairs, as they had family dinner together. In such a long time, it happened once again. But Naruto didn't really feel much out of it. In the past couple of months, he had changed a lot, and he wasn't that same kid starving for attention. He was completely different now. As Naruto continued his training with Itachi, Itachi was surprised that Naruto learned the fireball jutsu a minute after he showed him how to do it. As Naruto quite excelled in fire finte, and his fire was hotter than most. As Itachi saw how calculated and smart Naruto's mind was as he planned out every single thing as he go on. As Itachi realized that a true genius was standing in front of him, and he could learn a lot from him. He was happy that his father told him to make friends with Naruto. As Naruto made his way, Izumi told him that the old hag wanted to see him, as Naruto told her that he did not hear the message, as she asked him what was he gonna do when the time come when she find him. He told her that he will think about that then, as he had other important things to do. So yeah guys, that was basically the last one left off. You guys can switch across the place and check out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. We begin this episode with Force of Death, as Naruto ducked under a swinging kick that came from Itachi. He staggered back a bit to create some distance between him and the Uchiha. Itachi dropped down on him as a high kick was aimed towards his face. As Naruto placed his arm in a cross position to block the kick, his defense was strong enough to shield him from it. Itachi jumped back, using the momentum from Naruto's arm to push back, as Naruto threw a kunai right towards his forehead. Itachi threw a kunai that hit Naruto's, knocked away. They've been doing this for a couple of minutes, Itachi attacking head on, and Naruto playing defensive guy. For the past week, the redhead had barely attacked him. He was not giving away anything, he was always on defense, and only attacking when there was a clear opening. If they were playing a game of chess, one could say that Naruto only moved his pieces towards era where they could not be taken out. He didn't make risky moves, but it was okay. That had been the agreement. Itachi wasn't actually complaining because he was never able to bypass the redhead defense. Naruto had a solid defense, but in terms of attacking, he had little. As far as Itachi could tell anyway. Regardless, this was something of a challenge towards Itachi, as he helped Naruto improve his defenses though. And Naruto helped him see how he left his attacks open. It was also a good puzzle to see how Naruto's mind would react to his attacks. Shall we end here? That is fine, said Naruto. This way of fighting, there was no winner or there was no loser. As Naruto admitted, even though this was just sparring, he would hate to lose. So he removed all the bindings of being a winner or a loser. It was apparent that Naruto didn't like to lose at all. You're not going to be easy to defeat, said Itachi. Not just because of your defense, because you're not the shinobi that would just jump into battle without knowing his enemies. When you're sure that you can't win, you do not test things. That old hag in Uzumaki might call it being a coward, but I call it being the smart way. When you don't know when you're beat, you die, young as a shinobi. We must all know our limits, know how far we can go, and how far we can push. That is essential for any shinobi, Itachi said. When we don't know our limits, we tend to overestimate how far we can go. Truly, Naruto may not claim to be a genius about fighting, but he truly was. He always thought before engaging. Have you actually spent more time training in your offensive capabilities, Itachi said. Naruto shook his head. I've been working on creating a perfect defense. My rule is, before you attack, you must be able to defend. With that, Naruto looked up in the sky. Itachi, you were turned into this good person because of what you saw in the Third Shinobi World War. I didn't say anything because my father did not take me to the battlefield. However, when the Kyuubi went on a rampage, I saw everything. My parents, senile, old hag, and my father, personal guards, they were away from the compound. In my house, I was alone. I went out when the Kyuubi went on a rampage, and I saw everything. I don't know if I was scared or not, but I saw people being swatted like flies. A mountain that couldn't be cut down, no matter what you threw at it. Itachi frowned. This was not something good. Even though Naruto was saying that there was no emotion on his tone, he was sure even his expression was a blank mask. That worried Itachi. Perhaps even so because it would confirm his situation. Even with all I saw, there has never been a day that I had a nightmare because of it. But that should have been an event that changed my life. Perhaps it did, and I've just been unconscious because of it. Naruto shook his head, opting not to continue. Anyone would have been changed. Even the older generations still have nightmare because of that day. But for Naruto to have watched everything, and yet have a peaceful sleep, that was worrying. It said much about the redhead. Emotional state. Perhaps he felt nothing because he was too young to really understand what was going on. At that point, Naruto was a spoiled, naive brat who only knew happiness. It was possible. Now that he understands everything, should it not give his heart a burden? People are different. Everyone is unique. Our views on things are different, depending on what we value. As Naruto looked towards Itachi, that's something new. I've never been one to think deeply about the future. I never considered things that were right or wrong. The moral responsibility. My focus was simply with training, but the conversations I've had led me to believe that there is just more than training. This was something new to Itachi, not the words themselves, but the fact that Naruto was saying it. Most time the redhead seemed to ignore or look careless about the things that were going around. Perhaps it had something to do with his ignorance. Still, Itachi did not think that part would be changing anytime soon. He figured that was a part that defined who the redhead was. Still, our age group is not focused on that, Itachi said. It's about playing and having fun. He didn't have that time though. There was something that he had seen, something that he had to change. I had my fun, said Naruto. I had the time many wished that they could have. And it was fun, he said with a smile. Perhaps now is the time to grow. I wish I had remained ignorant of everything though. Knowing is making life more troublesome. Would you rather be like those in our class, Itachi asked. They're basking in their ignorance, said Naruto. Who can blame them? They don't know a single thing. The bliss of being ignorant. Itachi shook his head. Just be careful that ignorance doesn't become your downfall. So what is it that you wanted to tell me, he asked. Pre-performing ninjutsu. Why do we weave hand sign before performing ninjutsu? Naruto asked. Some experienced shinobis are able to do jutsus without the use of hand signs. I have said this, chakra. Excellent chakra control and the imagination of shape. That is what I need to perform ninjutsu. The second was perfect when it came to water ninjutsu. For many of them, the man didn't even need to weave hand signs. Why was that? Because of his high control over the elements. If controlling an element becomes as easy as moving your hand, then there will be no time needed to waste performing hand signs. It may take time, said Naruto, but I want to make this a reality. Itachi blinked at that. Dear Naruto surprised him once again. He shouldn't be surprised. When it came to ninjutsu, the redhead had shown knowledgeable. Very knowledgeable on that. He had a certain way of going over with ninjutsu. A way that worked. How good is your control over your chakra, Itachi said. Perfect, said Naruto. With the amount of time I spent on learning it, anything else would be a pure disappointment. Perfect control over your chakra make it easy to learn ninjutsu. You won't have trouble trying to figure out the right amount of chakra to perform a certain jutsu. Well, with good enough control you can do it, Itachi said. I do see your point. Fire is my natural affinity, so learning fire-based jutsus are quite easy for me. Naruto nodded. The fire jutsu is easy to do. Melting the flame inside of your body, turning and twisting your chakra into it, and breathing it out. Going through many hand signs is a waste of time. One is only needed for activation. As Naruto formed a single hand sign before he produced a fireball from his mouth. It was small, but the heat producing from it was no mere small fireball. Itachi shook his head at this level. He could not perform that jutsu with a single hand sign. Naruto was truly going to be amazed when he grew up. Then again, he still had the Sharingan going for him. There was so much unlimited potential up for grabs because of his eyes. If the both of them became teammates and partners, they would be a force to be reckoned with. The proud protectors of the Hidden Leaf. As you can see, it still needs work, said Naruto. But in a couple of days, it should be perfect. Itachi nodded. My father wished to speak with you, he said. He spoke cautiously. You don't have to see him anytime soon, or feel forced to do it. You can see him anytime you choose. I'll see you tomorrow, said Naruto. As he walked away from Itachi, I have other matters to attend to. Itachi shook his head. Well, he got the message through. The redhead might have acted like he didn't hear him, but Itachi was sure that Naruto heard what he said. The day would come. For now, Naruto just had no interest talking to his father. Perhaps he still need time to think about it and look into his father before meeting him. Well, the day had been productive. He had no complaints so far. The redhead was surely going to train some more in this hidden training ground. If he was going to get some more work done, so should he. He didn't want to get left behind by someone that he beaten without even have to try a year ago. But the person was already excelling so much. You made quite the friend there, said Shisui as he sit on top of a tree branch. We're not exactly friends but training acquaintances, Itachi said. Well, he hoped they will become friends soon. How long have you been here, he asked. Long enough, Shisui said. I know the fourth Hokage. He's nothing like him, in personality at least. But then again, that seemed to be the purpose, isn't it? Itachi just nodded. How are things out there? As he knew that Shisui was already a shinobi, and he knew about what was happening in the shinobi world better than he did. Shisui looked up to the sky. As he looked toward the leaves that were trying to block the view, but he could still see the sky. This village needs to be protected by those who are willing to sacrifice everything. Actually, when you step into the shinobi world, you will have to give everything to protect the village that we love. Is it really that bad? Not yet. But soon enough, Shisui said quietly. Introduce me to Naruto one day. He's the son of the Hokage, and whether he liked it or not, he'll be thrown into the frail. For now, the third has assigned me a mission. Itachi was curious. A mission from the third? It had to be something important. Look of things, everyone is making a move on Naruto. His future, his presence, his actions will mean a lot. Seeing look Itachi has on his face, Shisui smiled. Don't worry about it. It's nothing dangerous. You know it better. Naruto isn't quite like us. He's not the kind to make sacrifices and selfless decisions. The third, want us to work on that. Time skip. Later that night, at the Uchiha compound. It was truly a development, a rather interesting development, that Minato would give him permission to make a move on Naruto, so long as he helped his son get better. It seems that the fourth Hokage was preparing his son for tomorrow that week for him. Of course, Fukaku was more than happy to take Minato's blessing. It wasn't like he was going to poison the boy against his father. He had no such plans. Given what he learned about the redhead, he figured even manipulating him wouldn't be an easy task. Not that he had those plans. He just wanted someone that would become a valued partner to the Uchihas and secure their future inside the Hidden Leaf. Father. Fukaku was snapped from his thoughts as Itachi walked in the study. Itachi, you're back a bit late today. Had too many things to do at training ground? Asked Fukaku. Itachi nodded. I had a session with Naruto, and then one with Shisui, as he sat down in front of his father's desk. Fukaku nodded. He truly was blessed to have both Itachi and Shisui in his clan. It was especially wonderful that Shisui was excelling so much that even the third took interest in him. Itachi wasn't the only one loved by the villagers, but Shisui as well. If he could have Naruto as well, how things could turn up for the Uchiha. Yes, things would go smoothly for the clan. How was young Naruto? He's simply amazing, father. Even Shisui was impressed by him. His understanding and control over the fire element and chakra was exceptional. You will have to see him to believe it yourself. When will that happen? I spoke to him. It's only a matter of time, Itachi said to his father. Fukaku nodded as a small smile graced his lips. Do you have something you want to tell or ask me, Itachi? Itachi nodded as he just went with it. Shisui told me that we might have a war soon. Fukaku frowned at that. The older Uchiha wasn't wrong to inform Itachi about it. It was the truth. It was the truth, yes. That he knew too well. He was always in communication with the fourth Hokage after all. That is what it looked like. We just had a war recently. People are still recovering from the losses. I don't think any village would be too keen to enter into one. However, anything is possible. Itachi wants to know what is causing the problems. Why is that, father? He asks. Perhaps they're nervous. Konoha called things to a halt with the Hidden Stone because both villages suffer massive losses. If it hadn't been for Minato, I doubt that the Hidden Stone would agree to a truce. Since then, Konoha suffer more losses because of the Kyuubi incident. But the village still remains strong, the Uchihas stand strong, and we have the Uzumakis. Itachi tilted his head. With the destruction of their home, and many of them dead, there's just a few of them. Why do people still fear them? Vengeance, possibly, said Fukaku. They were attacked because of their power, and they did not provoke anyone. Numbers don't matter, son. The Uzumaki sealing core is made of just 4 members. If they wish, they could disable all barriers in any security village and disable all Bijus. No one in this village was even able to harm the Kyuubi or attacks, couldn't do anything against it. But you know what? Naruto's mother held the beast at bay. She created a barrier so powerful that the Biju could not break through it. A Biju that is capable of flattening this village. Credit goes to Minato, but that woman, she was one that stopped things. And what you must understand is before that, she had survived the Biju extraction and she had just given birth. Perhaps you don't know, but if it was me that had the Kyuubi extracted from me, I would have died at the scene. Itachi inhaled that silently. When he was finished absorbing all of that, he spoke. She must be a great kunoichi. She was, said Fukaku. So do you understand what could become of Naruto if you combine Uzumaki's specialties and what he's currently doing? Time skip. The next morning, Shino had woken up early as she made her way to the compound gate, waiting for Naruto to make his way towards the academy. There was no other way to leave the compound beside the gate. He made sure of that, and Naruto was too young to learn the Shunshin. Teleport away. There was also a concrete report that he made his way, this time heading towards the academy. He didn't have to wait too long as he came into view, hands in his pockets. He waited until he reached her, as she glared at him sternly. I know that useless girl gave you my message, and you chose not to oblige, she said. As Naruto stood there, he didn't think that the old hag would wait for him at the gate. Are you listening to me, she said. As Naruto tilted his head, dodging the chakra chain that came towards his forehead, that was close if that hit him, he would have dispelled. As his eyes crinkled up into a smile. Good morning, Obasan, he said. Time skip. Why don't you show me a jutsu that you create on your own, asked Itachi. As both Naruto and Itachi were standing in the field, as Naruto did not need to think about as he held out his arm, flames lit up before they swirled into the palm of his right hand. They were not firm, they just swirled around violently. I wanted to create a fireball. Small version of it like this that is used, but it is incomplete. I want to know if you have some tips. Itachi raised an eyebrow. He was not surprised by Naruto's jutsu, but the redhead didn't seem to know that his jutsu was a copy of his father's Rasengan. Well, at least when it was complete, it would become an elemental Rasengan. You do know your father invented a jutsu like that, right? Itachi almost looked amused when he saw the look on Naruto's face. So asked him in time with the help of clones, you'll be able to do it, and return to teach it to me. Naruto frowned. Is that necessary? You could spend more years burning yourself, Itachi said, as he could see that the jutsu was really dangerous. In that form, it was unstable, and the only way that Naruto was able to maintain it was because of his excellent chakra control. Besides, he dispelled his jutsu that winks, something that Itachi noticed. I guess I have no choice, he says as he sat down. How are you with Kinjutsu? Good, Itachi said. You wish to learn it? Naruto nodded. I want to create my own style that will complement my fighting style. I recently received my special made sword, so I guess it's time for me to use it. As myself, I need to learn what normal sword is used, and then to try its style on mine. There's something that you can't really do on your own without help. Well, I won't be a good teacher, Itachi said, but there is someone that can help you. Shisui. You can come out now. Shisui flashed behind Naruto smiling. How long have you known that I've been here? Long enough, Itachi said. Fair enough, Shisui said, as he turned towards Naruto. I am Uchiha Shisui, a real shinobi and Itachi's friend, he said, as he gave Naruto a smile. As Naruto smiled back, the pleasure is all mine, he said. Later that day, Izumi raised an eyebrow as she entered the library. He found Naruto with stacks of scrolls, a lot of them, in front of him. It wasn't that he was reading that surprised her. That was hardly a surprise. For the past week, every time he returned home, he read. She had to do her job of bringing him food here, even though it wasn't allowed. But she knew she did not, he would starve himself. What surprised her was the position that he was in, with his elbow leaned on the left side of his face, and a faraway look in his eye. Something wrong, Naruto-sama. Naruto did not respond. Naruto-sama, as Naruto's eyes turned towards her. Oh, it is you. Is it that time already, he asked. She noticed his tone was a bit down. Something wrong? She asked him. She sat down in front of him, the container with his food inside, still in her hand. Saw something going on in the village when I was coming back home. What is going on? The Kyuubi Attack Festival. The villagers are ready to celebrate the day that the fourth Hokage saved the village. and honor those who die for their service. I thought about that for a moment. So it's a hard time to be a Uchiha or Uzumaki, huh? He said. She raised an eyebrow. I didn't think that you'd concern yourself with that. I'm going to be head of this clan some years to come. Of course this has to concern me. Well, thinking about it too deep won't solve anything. What were you thinking about, she asked. I was reading about the Sharingan, he said, as he frowned. I take it you didn't like what you read. Obviously, said Naruto. This was rather disturbing. I can't believe those eyes can do the impossible. I saw them today. They were frightening. And with what I read today, I am truly glad the Uchihas are our friends. I wouldn't want to fight someone like Itachi with those eyes activated. Jealous? She said. Possibly, said Naruto without any shame. I met Shisui today, and to think I thought Itachi was the only one that is special amongst the Uchiha clan. I wonder how one can be on top with those blood-red eyes, looking over everything like a hawk. You sound defeated, she said. Motivated, said Naruto. With the Sharingan, Itachi could slip right through my defense without much trouble, and that bothers me. I want to create an absolute defense that will help me defend against those bloody eyes. It was like a mountain to climb. Naruto didn't like challenges, but still one that he will have no choice but to try and complete. The Uchihas will be a challenge to his growth, not that exactly, but his rise to greatness. Itachi was only going to get more stronger. His merely smiled encouragingly. You can do it if you try, she said. I will do it, said Naruto. He had no choice but to try. He didn't want Itachi or Shisui getting one over him in training. It was apparent that Shisui would be joining them for their training sessions. That came after this one. 2 Uchihas against 1 Uzumaki, so not fair. A pathetic censor, you know? And that might prove lethal during battle. Shisui was watching me and Itachi for some time, and I didn't know, but Itachi did. I wish to use your phone juice skills to create a special seal, he said. When do we start, she said excitedly. She was more than happy to help Naruto with anything he wants. And she was excited when it comes towards Fuinjutsu as well. After we ate, said Naruto. I have already eaten, she said. Doesn't matter, you will eat again. We always eat together. When it's just the 2 of us. And besides, it would be uncomfortable if you just watch me eat, he said. The next morning, Minato had never looked so happy. He looked like he was about to burst at any moment. If he could dance, Naruto was sure that his father would be dancing about right now. This was because Naruto said one simple thing. Father, I need your help with something. Naruto didn't realize that it would mean so much to his father if he asked him for help during his training. Yes, he knew that the man was disappointed that he was not asking for help in his training, but he never imagined that it would cause this reaction from his father. Yes, never at all did he imagine this. No matter how little it was, Minato was going to take joy in helping his son to whatever he wanted to help with. All that mattered was that his son wanted his help, and screw going to work early. He could help his son with a few things. What do you want me to help you with, Naruto? He asked. Naruto shook his head. He'd forgotten this side of his father. It reminded him of old memories, reminded him of the idiot and stupid father that he once come to know. As a small smile came on his lips, then he started to laugh. As Minato was touched. When was the last time he heard Naruto laugh? When was the last time? It might have been brief, but it was laughter nonetheless. He wished Kushina was here to see their son laugh. She might have shed a tear if she had saw that. Sorry, said Naruto. All laughter gone. It's just, I haven't seen you like this in a long time. It was one of those times I wonder if you were smart as the villagers made you out to be. Minato laughed as he scratched the back of his head. He took no offense. Sometimes he acted like an idiot. Sometimes even clueless. Those had been the good days. Good times, he said. As Naruto nodded, I want your help with a jutsu. Itachi said that you were the only one that could help. Are you able to help me, father? He asked. Of course, said Minato as he nodded. Time skip. Uchiha compound. The relationship with the Uchihas were good in the beginning. Ever since the Kyber rampage that destroyed part of Konoha though, ending many lives, the Uchihas has always been put on the blame. Kushina had kept quiet about the Uchiha that extracted the beast from her, as well as Minato, as the man had claimed to be Mother Uchiha. Minato or Fukaku didn't really believe it, but the man claimed so and they didn't believe it. But the village looked at him with the eye of suspicion. It was unfortunate and brought pain to his clan. The only real good thing is that they kept a close relationship with the fort. The man was fair and honest. He fought for the power that had been stolen from them. The standing that they have in the village right now was positive, but the eyes of the villagers was unacceptable. It would change soon enough though, as he already had Itachi and Shisui working wonders for the clan. But soon enough, the village would wake up and see that Uzumaki, Naruto was the fourth Hokage beloved son. They would come to love him once again, and he was going to be the one training Naruto. And when they realized that if the fort had entrusted the Uchiha with their son, they must realize that they weren't bad people, right? Forever changes, some good must come out of it, as Fukaku was glad when Naruto walked inside, as the boy was really cunning and smart. As Itachi had told him, it made Fukaku chuckle at how Naruto had tricked his father how to sign the papers for him to enter the academy. Naruto may not notice it because he was hardly in the streets, But people were comparing him and his son. This was a good time for the redhead to come to him, as he would train him along with his son as well. I've been watching you, Naruto, Fukaku said. I thought that no one would be able to be equal to Itachi when he started at the academy. He has been claimed as a once-in-a-generation genius. But you have defied all odds and make a wonderful recovery. I am honored you think so highly of me. But Itachi is still the best fighter. If it wasn't because I'm cheating time, I wouldn't be sniffing his lever right now. Fukaku looked amused. Naruto was probably talking about his use of child clones as cheating. Well, he was right about that. The use of his clones made him learn rather quickly. If Itachi wasn't the genius that he was, the redhead would have knocked him over some time ago. Still, the boy was obviously being modest. He was impressive for his age. I didn't know that you were the modest type, said Fukaku. I'm not, said Naruto. Fukaku simply smiled. It was difficult to tell if the boy was being polite or honest. It was strange. That smile in his face, it was hard to read. So, Itachi tell me that you're looking for a teacher and that you already mastered the fireball jutsu that he taught you. As Naruto tilted his head to the side, that wasn't what he said. He never remembered telling Itachi that he wanted someone to teach him. In fact, Itachi was the one that told him that his father wanted to see him. Naruto may be a bit ignorant, but when something fishy was going on, he noticed it. But he wasn't going to correct the man. It would just make the situation more troublesome. So he would just leave it as it was. Besides, if he said he didn't need help, he would be lying. He needed someone more experienced to teach him things that he didn't know. After all, despite how much he thought that he could not do everything on his own, he needed a hand so that he could go further in his development. I have done as best I could on my own, but I think it's time I get professional help from someone of your caliber, the redhead said. I tried asking the third, but he was hesitant and only offered me his knowledge and his wisdom. Well, that wasn't completely true. He never asked the old man about helping him fight, and the third was always the one that usually called him. He would never go to the old man without being called. But that did not mean that he actually hated being in the old man's presence, but there was a lot that he learned from the old man. On this matter, he figured that the professor would have agreed to it if he had asked. That isn't bad, Fukaku said. He may be old, but his mind is still sharp. I am willing to teach you ninjutsu and some life lessons, along with Itachi. As Naruto asked the question, why? Because you show promise, and Itachi needs someone to remind him that he hasn't reached his peak yet. He has also asked me to teach you, and not teaching you anything would just let your talent go to waste. But Naruto was not satisfied. Why? I am not from the Uchiha, as everyone knew that it wasn't a secret that the Uchiha did not take others from other clans. Hell, they didn't even allow anyone to enter into the military police. Fukaku looked at Naruto carefully, as he figured it would be best if he just come out clean about it. Besides, he couldn't even read the redhead to think what he was thinking in his mind right now. Do you understand the situation between our clans, he asked. Naruto nodded. Being holders of the Kyuubi, my clan is hated for holding the very beast that destroyed the village and killed many. It goes bad as some even believe that we worship the Biju. On the other side, your clan is suspected at the ones that let the Biju out. Both our clans are in difficult positions, yet we hold important position in this village. No, we are its defenders. The Uchiha deal with the internal security, and the Uzumaki, they had the sealing core. You also control the barrier that's around the village. Isn't it that you know more about what goes around the village? More than Yonvu. Your library contains secrets not even I know, Fukaku said. Naruto shook his head. I'm not privy to all information. What I told you is what I know. I do know about sealing core, but the rest is just news to me, the redhead said. If Naruto was not known for his ignorance, Fukaku wouldn't have believed what he just said. There was nothing in his face that told him that he wasn't telling the truth or lying. Well, now you know, said Fukaku. Yet, both our clans are not in favorable positions of the eyes of the villagers. I want to create a bond between you and the Uchiha. Your father is a Hokage, and you're likely the one to be able to succeed him. You're also gonna be clan head when you reach that age. As Fukaku didn't need to say anything else. As Naruto thought for a moment, it seems. As Fukaku just watched him, a smile then crept up to his face. When do we begin training? Fukaku's reasons didn't matter much to him. He was just happy to get this done. The man would teach him what he wanted to be taught, and he will grow stronger than he was. At the end of the day, they will get what they wanted. Itachi should be returning soon. We will begin then. You should go home and tell your mother you're returning late. I don't want to worry her. It's okay, I usually go back late anyway, said Naruto. Besides, as you said, since some members of my clan know where I am anyway, they will inform her when I'm late. Fukaku nodded as he then spoke. This compound is surrounded. There are 4 large structures overseeing everything that happened in here. I don't like it. Naruto tilted his head. Do you want the same barrier that we put around the Uzumaki compound? If you can get in a good word for me, Fukaku said. It caused commotion when your clan erupted that barrier, and other people, even envoys, could not get in. But that matters little. I like that no one really knows what happened in your compound. That kind of secrecy will only lead to more suspicion. The people start to think that you're hiding something. Fukaku smiled. They don't have to know it's there. And we don't have to explain to anyone why we're protecting our clan in that matter. The barrier is only visible to the Sharingan and Byakugan, correct? It is, said Naruto. I will speak to my mother. As Naruto turned his head, but if it is allowed, I doubt. They would even tell how it's made. I understand, Fukaku said, as he knew that the Uzumakis were not really depth on sharing their skills in Funjutsu. Hell, even Minato was forbidden to tell his Anbu certain things about the barrier that surrounded the village. Then again, every clan had their secrets and none shared with other. Have you started your lessons in Funjutsu? It was small talk, and he ignored the answer. But he was just making small talk. Naruto nodded. I didn't start by writing my name when I learned to write. I start by writing sealing formulas. Fukaku looked amused. Was Naruto making a joke? He shook his head. The redhead was dead serious. Really now? Naruto did not respond as he simply chose to ignore Fukaku. But before anything else could happen, Itachi walked in with an older woman. Hello Naruto. It has been long, hasn't it? As Naruto looked towards the woman with a smile, he honestly didn't remember the last time he saw her. But she looked familiar. If she was Itachi's mother, she must be Mikoto, his mother's friend. It's been a long time. The last time he saw her was in the Prince days. Yes, it has been, he said. Itachi shook his head at Naruto's reaction. I'm surprised that you choose to come here of all these days. Tomorrow is your younger sister's birthday, isn't it? Naruto blinked before he shook his head. Celebrations will be made tomorrow. Now he understood why his mother insisted that he did not go out tomorrow. He was merely thinking that the day was the Kyuubi anniversary, not his sister's birthday. This was ridiculous. He needed to open his eyes more, and yet he thought that he was learning, yet he was still being too ignorant. Fukaku got to his feet as he looked towards the wife. We will return late tonight. Don't wait up, he said. As Mikoto nodded, as Naruto faced her and smiled. The next day, Uzumaki compound. Should you have that look on your face, Izumi asked. Today was his sister's birthday and yet, he was scowling. For someone who smiled at every situation, the look was rather surprising, yes it was. Recently he has been smiling less and less because he has been reading the things around him. Well, she was happy for that. He couldn't stay blind forever and ignorant to everything. He wiped the scowl off his face. My body hurts, he said. And I'm feeling bitter about it. She raised an eyebrow. Why? A thought popped into her mind as she remembered he came back home later than usual last night. Does it have something to do with the fact that you came home in the middle of the night? As Naruto nodded. Your mother was worried, thinking that you might not come back. Because according to her, she has been all over you about the importance of staying home today. She thought that you might have run away from home, Izumi said, looking slightly amused. Kushina had been hysterical about it. She even asked Minato to go and look for Naruto because she was afraid that she had messed up being too demanding. As Izumi wanted to laugh back then because the woman was grabbing Minato by his shirt as she was shaking him as the man was trying to calm her. As Naruto did not ask what amuses her. Mother would not forgive me if I did not attend Karen's birthday. I had no plans to miss it either. Well, he didn't know that it was today until yesterday. I'm glad. Then, she said, I went to a training ground with Fukaku and he asked me to attack him to see how good I was in taijutsu. I said no. I wasn't about to attack a grown-up when the result was obvious. Then, Izumi said, he attacked me. That bloody man beat me up and told me there will be time when I have to fight a stronger and smarter opponent. Sometime you have to lose or win. Life was like that. Can you believe it? Are you seriously asking me that, Naruto-sama? Izumi asked. His ignorance was becoming too much. He had to know that things didn't work out how he wanted them to always. She understood he was still a kid, but this was she know the world. Nothing was fair, and kids had to grow up quickly. He frowned as he just stared at her. She shook her head. He was right. Sometimes you have to fight to the death. You won't always choose if you can fight or not. Life is unfair like that. Sometimes you have to fight an opponent to protect what you love. I hate that kind of world, said Naruto. Life is supposed to be a beautiful thing. That is what we're promised when growing up. No one said anything about a cruel world that take away our freedom of choice. Welcome to the real world, Izumi said. That is just wrong. As she started to imitate his smile. Don't do it again, he said. I can't help myself, she said as she laughed. She wanted to see how he looks when he was at the receiving end of his own medicine. I still have a lot to learn. That bloody man showed me that much last night, said Naruto. Well, at least I was exposed to a real shinobi. That will help a lot along the way. Still, he will never allow that man to beat him like that ever again. He understood the man was a full-fledged shinobi, but Naruto hated being defeated. He will beat that man one day. He will grow stronger than Fukaku and beat him. You really don't like that he beat you up, don't you? He did it in front of Itachi, said Naruto with his eyes closed. When Itachi fought against his father, he did better than me. Perhaps it's because I never tried to actually fight, and Itachi has been sparring his father for several times now. But still, that doesn't take away the facts. Izumi shook her head. Come on. Your mother has already finished baking the cake and your father has returned from work. They decide to do their own celebration and day before joining the rest of the villagers later in the evening. It was a great day. So many things have already been planned by the villagers and security was already increased around the village. People were already drinking already. The military police force was busy though. When people were drunk, things went out of hand easily. Naruto put on a smile as he nodded towards Izumi as he followed her. As the living room was bright, both of his parents looked happy. As Kushina turned, she saw Izumi first. Did you? He was brooding outside Izumi's head. As Naruto shot Izumi a nasty look. No need for that look, Naruto. You don't want your sister copying your bad manners, do you? Said Kushina with a smile. Of course not, said Naruto as he walked over to his father, who was holding Karen. The man gave Naruto the younger blonde, and Naruto looked at her. Happy first birthday, dear sister, he said. Why don't you sing for her? Said Minato with a smile. As Naruto glared though, he was saying that because he knew that he could not sing. Some time ago, he had tried to sing for his mother's birthday, and it was rather hilarious. As Kushina had laughed, she tried to calm him afterwards, but he was embarrassed. Yes, we will take the cake after he sings, Kushina said, with a smile on her face. I'm not singing, said Naruto, as Izumi came with the cake and handed it to Kushina. As she placed on the camera and set on a timer, as everyone sit around. Come and join us as well, Kushina said. She looked towards Izumi. I don't want to intrude. Nonsense, Kushina said. You're a part of this family and you will always be. Now come on before I have to drag you. As Izumi came over and sat down beside Kushina. Alright everyone, big smile now, as the camera flashed, as they said happy birthday, Karen-chan. As the photo was taken, and Naruto did not feel bitter about anything. He wanted his sister to enjoy her time like he did when he was younger. Though his time was up from being the prince back then, it was her time to be the little princess. And as her older brother, he will make sure that she lived happily. Now he understands why Itachi spoke with joy when speaking about his younger brother. They call it sibling love. Know that she was in his presence almost every day now. It made him feel different and more open towards her. Minato-kun, as he turned his head towards his wife. You have something on your face and it will mess up the next picture. Lean closer so I can remove it. She said it so cutely as Minato felt cautious. Was she gonna kiss him in front of Naruto and Izumi? Despite everything, it would be a little bit embarrassing, and Naruto was too young to be seeing something like that. Despite Izumi wouldn't really remember any of this, although it was like kiss. He was just that way after all. As he leaned forward, she slammed the handful of cake that she had in her arms right in his face. Oops, said Kushina. As Naruto looked toward his father, it was rather amusing. He looked like a cartoon character with a cake over his face and looking shocked because he never expected that. As Kushina laughed, Izumi started as well. Knowing that his father won't get revenge on his mother, Naruto stood up as he would get out of the crossfire. When his mother called him, he made the mistake of turning back as she slammed the rest of the cake in his face. As Naruto tilted his head to the side, the both of them started to laugh, Izumi included. As Izumi came over, you shouldn't try to put on that smile with the cake on your face. As Naruto wiped it off before splashed on her face. As she blinked, looks good on you, said Naruto. Later that day, Hokage Monument, as Naruto was standing on second Hokage's head, looking over the village. As Naruto was currently thinking about moral responsibility, right or wrong, he blamed Itachi for infecting him with his virus. He was a kid, he wasn't supposed to be thinking this deeply. Curse that Uchiha. Although he did see something while coming up here, it was a strange unfamiliar territory to him. A man was forcing himself on a woman. The woman was crying, as the man was roughly grabbing her, all the time trying to take her clothes off. Her cries, they were not playful. Before he could fully grasp what was going on, the military police had stormed into the scene. Remember one of the Uchihas telling that man that he was charged with rape and assault. Rape was a foreign word to Naruto. You'll have to look at it in the library tomorrow. I thought you'd be with your family, said Itachi as he walked over with Shisui by his side. As Naruto did not look towards him, perhaps it was because he was bothered that he did not sense them until Itachi spoke. His back was always open because of his lack of sensory abilities. He will have to work on that soon. Being blind behind could be nasty if what Fukaku said had to go by. I've had enough fun for one day, said Naruto. Besides, it was time for her sister to take the spotlight. Oh, your mother must have planned something to celebrate your sister's birthday, Shisui said. Why do you choose to be here of all places? Others are down in the village enjoying themselves, and you're the only one that is missing, he said. I can ask you the same question, said Naruto as he turned his eyes towards the older Uchiha for a moment. Shisui simply smiles. He turned towards Itachi. He's beginning to ask smart questions. I think you're influencing him. Itachi looked towards the brightly lit streets. Yes, we are patrolling as military police force, he said. Really now, said Naruto. I didn't know that you joined the police force already. Too eager to get things real. Perhaps, Itachi said. He had just joined for tonight because his father said it would be best for him to experience real missions. On a night like this, people are bound to go out of control. Some spies may try to sneak through our walls to gather information because of the many people intoxicated with alcohol. This is a good time for Itachi to learn about the kind of peoples around. A learning experience, said Naruto. You must be ecstatic to participate in something like that. Shouldn't you wish to join us as well, Itachi said. You will be able to understand the moral difference and understand what is wrong or right. Given your ignorance, it is safe to say that you ignore all those lessons when they were being taught to you in your clan. Military police is for the Uchiha, besides. I wish to just observe from here, said Naruto. You should come with us. Fukaku-sama said it was okay if you join us. It is just for tonight anyway. You will be able to observe things from a closer angle and intervene when you have to. You will be dealing with civilians. They aren't people you can handle, said Shisui. As he spoke, Naruto felt like he had demons running up in his head. This was all just a pain and an echo that wouldn't go away. Where were the days where he could truly just ignore everything and not be bothered by it at all? He sighed. He truly missed those days. Your sisters can grow up in this village and this world that surrounds us. Don't you want to see what kind of world it is? If it's corrupted, do you not wish to fix it so that your sister can live in a safe place? Naruto turned to face Itachi. That's not very nice, Itachi. It may not be, but it's a truth, and you have to see it, and you can't ignore it. If you do, you will regret when something bad happened. As Naruto looked back down towards the streets, silently. Looks like it's settled then, Shisui said. Come you two. I know a good place where we could start patrolling. Time skip. Forest of Death. As Naruto was strolling through the Forest of Death, or so they call it. Really, he didn't know where they get the name from. The place did not stink of death. Sure, at first he was frightened when coming here, because the sounds that sent chill down his spine. But now that he has grown used to it, he was not scared anymore. It was a place that he enjoyed training. It felt peaceful and calm. As Naruto's movements came to a complete halt, when he sensed something in the air current, his eyes widened when a man burst out of the trees in front of him and launched himself towards him. The look in the man's eyes were frightening. He seemed crazy. As the man was fast, as he was able to grab Naruto, the man wrapped his hands around Naruto tight, really tight, lifting him up in the air. Naruto bulged his muscles and tried to kick, breaking out of a strong hold, but the man held on to him incredibly tight. Naruto may be an ignorant child, but he knew a prank when he saw one. And this was not a prank, this man was trying to kill him. He knew his father were hated by his enemies, and some would not waste a chance to kill the son of the fourth Hokage to make the man suffer. Hello has becoming lax in his security. I never thought the intel could be right, the man said. This unknown man received a tip about this boy. It was said that the redhead ventured around this part of the forest without anyone watching him. The fourth Hokage is known for his kindness. I question his actions in the third Great Shinobu War though. That was not the action of a kind man. Nevertheless, I think I'll use you as a ransom, but it's unlikely that they will rumble for just one boy. After all, the leader, despite being the son of a leader, they always put the village first. The man held on tightly to Naruto with one arm, as his other arm pulled a kunai. It's as the man drew the kunai on his right cheek, as blood started to leak. The man licked the blood and smiled. Tastes good. As he roughly slammed Naruto in the ground, he then twisted and slammed a brutal kick right into Naruto's chest. Naruto felt all the ears in his lung vanish at that moment. Blood exploded from his mouth as he was sent sailing, as he crashed right into the base of a tree. As Naruto cried in pain as his back slammed hard. We lost our loved ones during the war. I think it is only fear of the fort. Lose his son as well. As Naruto was clutching his chest in pain, something was broken. His heart was beating fast. He was afraid. The man looked serious. It was pain that he was feeling, blood dripping from his mouth, and he was gonna die. There was no other way out of this. The man wanted to kill him all because he was a fourth Hokage's son. Was this it? Had he not swore to himself that he would never be in this situation again? He had too many things to do. More years to live, he wasn't going to die yet. He had yet to even achieve something to become the greatest. This was reality and Naruto did not like it. He rejected it. He made a promise that he would never lose again. This was defeat. It was unacceptable. He swore that he would never be pathetic again. He wouldn't be a loser. That he would always win. So being down like this, about to die, he didn't accept it. He didn't accept it one bit. As in his head there was his voice, telling him that he was gonna die here, that he was weak. As he started to mumble to himself, no. Oi, brat. What the hell's wrong with you, the man said. Are you that afraid of dying? Well, any kid would be in this situation. The moment the man reached Naruto and grabbed him, 6 chakra chains burst out of Naruto. The man was caught completely by surprise as they slammed into the man's abdomen and lifted him up in the air. As they ripped the man to pieces, the man's dying screams echoed through the forest. Perhaps what made his screams worse was the flames that was lit at the top of the chains that burned his insides before he was torn. As Naruto's face was soaked in blood, as the remaining of the man's body fell right on Naruto as he dropped down, his chains returned back to him. 3 seconds later, 4 envoys dropped down on Naruto and they Man that was torn badly. Shit, we're late, one of them cursed. Is he okay? Another one asks. There was a tense moment as Naruto's eyes were just wide as he just lie there. The Envoys knew if something happened to Naruto, it would mean war. Slowly, one of the Envoys kneeled down and removed the remains of the man off of Naruto. As he checked over the boy, he was okay. He's okay, he said, physically at least, as Naruto was just staring out of nowhere. Someone, go and inform the Hokage. We'll take him to the hospital. Time skip, Konoha Hospital. Minato was pacing around the hospital as the doctors did their check on Naruto. As Kushina was there pacing as well. Both of them were incredibly worried about their son. The Envoy said that he was okay, but it was hard to tell because he was unresponsive and there was blood all over his body. Only medics could tell if he was fully okay or not. The third had a worried look on his face as well, but unlike the two parents, he was able to sit down calmly. At this time, the third felt like the adult here and both of them were children. Well, he could understand this was their elder son, and for him to experience this kind of thing at this early age was really disturbing. He didn't think that anyone would actually sneak in the village and find Naruto alone. For the information to have been leaked outside meant that there was someone inside that spoke about it. As Naruto was rather secretive, yes, villagers did not know about his movements. Rarely, people do, because he was always either by himself or somewhere unknown to the villagers. Minato said third, trying to get the man's attention. Pacing around will not solve anything, you have to calm down and allow the doctors do their work. You will only tire yourself. He paused, he turned towards the mother. You too, Kushina-chan. The redhead paused as she turned and faced him. Don't tell me to calm down, Sir Toby. My son is in there and I don't really know what's happening. I will not calm down. To place a hand on her shoulder. No need to shout, Kushina, he said. This is a hospital. So, she said, as she just stared at him waiting for a response. Well, he didn't expect that. Well, here's in size, decided not to say anything, as he knew that he would only infuriate the woman. And a pissed off Kushina was not someone that he wished to deal with. It wouldn't be good for his health. They didn't wait longer as the doctor came out of the room. Her face did not look like someone who was carrying bad news, and that was good. You can go. Kushina pushed the woman aside before she finished as she rushed in the room. As Kushina entered, as she saw him, he was clean of all the blood. He was just lying there in the bed. His eyes were open, but she saw nothing. He didn't look at her, like he even saw her. His eyes seemed dead. She wanted to cry, but not in front of Naruto, as she didn't want him to feel worse. The doctor spoke. He's still in shock, but physically, he's alright. There was just a minor cut on his cheek. We would like to keep him here for another day so that we can observe him. We can't really release him while he's like that. The third seemed like the one that was listening to the woman. Has he responded for attempts of communication? No. The third nodded. At least his life was not in danger, he thought. As Kushina moved closer. Naruto, can you hear me? But he did not respond. His eyes just continued to stare at the empty space in front of him. Minato, said Sarutobi, let us leave Kushina. Naruto is not in any mortal danger. And we need to solve the situation about this now. As Minato looked towards Hiruzen, as he knew what the man was talking about. After all, for someone to find out about the whereabouts of Naruto meant that they had someone inside that leaked the information so that something could be stirred up. And Minato was really pissed off about that. Yes, really pissed off. But guys, I'll be in episode right here. If you want to see the next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, stay in tune for the rest of the what is coming your way, which I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.